This is a TalkStation original podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zach Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. This is our high school football preview episode. We'll have in East Carteret's BJ Frazier, West Carteret's Daniel Barrow, and joining us first is Croatan's Andrew Gurley. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Andrew's becoming quite the popular Paper Boys podcast guest. This is number 3.
I think that's the top guest, right?
He might be right at the top of the list. He's last year with the high school preview, and then we had him on with David Perry when we did like a 25-year Croatan deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you're forgetting basketball. I think this might be number 4.
Oh,
wow. You know
Oh,
what?
wow, you're right.
You're right.
I
Man.
got lengthened the lead.
Oh, my gosh.
Dang. All right, well, tell us about the 2024 Cougars. How are they shaping up so far?
Yeah, we're excited. You know, we had a really good spring. I think you know, any offseason, obviously it starts with that. So we were really pleased with how our spring went, and this summer was good. I felt like we hit the ground running come on the 31st. You know, I mentioned to you earlier, you know, the other day that I felt like we were young the last 2 years. And this year, you know, those guys now, we got a good core group. Our senior class isn't very big. It's only 10 guys, but we got a big junior class, and, man, those guys have they're ready to play. You know,
and can I interrupt and just say that how much I appreciate you saying that, because I'll have coaches who will tell me every year that we're young.
Right.
And I'm like, eventually you can't.
Yeah, you can't do that
and
every year.
You come out and said it, so I can't say that the fourth
third year in a row would be a bit of a stretch. But, no, I mean, I felt like, well, we were definitely young last year.
Yeah.
Because I think we had
a lot of sophomores, right?
We had, I think, 10 sophomores pulled up. We
Yeah.
started 2 freshmen on varsity, Andrew Boucher and Hayden Link. And, you know, you can't really consider those guys sophomores now because of the experience they got. And so you take some lumps there. There's going to be growing pains when you have a young team and having to play that many freshmen and sophomores. But I feel like it always pays off, you know, because of the experience those guys get. You get experience being on the sideline and watching and being in the moment, but how much more do you get by actually being in those situations in those games? So I've been pleased. You know, we've checked a lot of boxes. Here it is, August 15th, and obviously it's been nice. I feel like having a little bit more time before week 1 this year. It's been good. Install's been really good. First scrimmage, we had Tuesday night with Topsail. That went really well. So, like I said, we're checking the boxes we need to check. I feel like we're ahead of schedule. I feel like I say that every year, but I definitely feel like that this year with this group.
Yeah, well, I did stories on East, West, and Croatan for the first day of practice, and you said that first day of practice, like the whole defense you had pretty much every call you needed in.
We did, and now it's just kind of fine-tuning things, sharpening things up. Obviously, you're not going to game plan for a scrimmage. You know, you want to keep getting better at what we're going to do. And so the scrimmage Tuesday night was good. It showed us some things we do got to work on. Obviously, I think I mentioned too, depth-wise, linebacker is probably going to be the biggest question mark on defense. So just trying to find some guys that we can put in those spots is going to be big.
You guys bring back 12 starters from a team that went 5-6 overall last year, and after back-to-back 4 and 7 years, went 2 and 3 in the Coastal Conference for the 3rd straight season. With that experience coming back and these guys who have been in these situations, are they hungry to improve on that?
Absolutely. And, you know, that's not our standard, you know, those last 3 or 4 years. Especially, you know, last year we started 3-0 first time in, I think, since 2005, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I was looking back at it the other day and, you know, yeah, that's a great start. But I don't think we gave up a defensive touchdown in those 3 games either. I think we gave up 6 points to Washington. That was a special team score. But I feel like this year we're going to be more balanced on both sides of the ball. And you talk about being hungry, Zach. You know, I kind of got a gauge of that and a sense of that going into Tuesday. Our guys are ready. You know, the biggest thing I preached to them was, hey, I want to see great effort, and I want to see us be physical because we're going to make mistakes in our first scrimmage. We're going to make mistakes in our second scrimmage. There's going to be mistakes we make in our first game. But the biggest thing I want to see from those guys is, are they hungry? Are they ready to go? Because, you know, you're not going to have a quarter and a half to get warmed up. It's got to be go time from the first play. So I saw that, and I feel like they are hungry. And that's the thing about having a veteran group is they've been there, done that. They know what to expect. They know kind of what to do from the get-go, and we've seen that with these guys.
This is your 7th year. I might be missing a year somewhere, but I feel like this is probably the most optimistic you've been of any season you've had.
Yeah, I'm seeing kind of similarities with this team, and I wasn't the head coach then, but with the 2015 team, that team we won 10 games, starting with the weight room, I feel like we're as strong as we've been since that team.
That's always been a key part of this program as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's the key part of any program. If it's not, what are you doing? The weight room, in the last 20 years has just been, it's just taken off for everybody. Any head coach I talk to, that's one of the things they mention. If you have a 10-minute conversation, they're going to mention the weight room somewhere when you're talking about their team, like how you guys look, blah, blah, blah. The weight room is going to be brought up somewhere because it's such a big part of the equation. Because, like I said, 20 years ago, you'd be lucky to get, 15 kids in the weight room. Now it's like, you have to push that for your guys. You got to be stronger because other teams are going to be stronger. But little things like that, that's just an example of things that I can kind of take and think back. Because, yes, year 7 as head coach, but year 18 overall. So I've got I can pull from some teams that I've seen in the past because I've been there so long. But I'm optimistic. The expectations are always going to be high. But I feel like with this group, I feel like we're as strong as we've been in a long time. I feel like we've got more team speed. I mentioned lack of depth at linebacker, but overall depth, I feel like it's the best it's been in a long time. So
did lose some defensive seniors, some leaders from last year, and this was a squad that did pretty good. You talk about that 3-0 start, and I think for the first 5 games they only gave up just 30 points and only gave up double-digit points in one of those games. We're talking about guys like Nate Bowl, Josh Steffi, AJ Pyle, Landon Lewis, Max Cardona, Aiden DeLay. So who are some of the guys that are going to step in this year that you're going to see take over those spots?
Yeah, and I know it sounds cliche to say it's hard to replace those guys. You got to do it by committee, but we've got a lot of guys that's kind of like, okay, it's my time, it's my year. It's time for me to step up. Just thinking defensively, Christian Taylor is going to be one. He started on varsity as a sophomore. He was kind of that other defensive end opposite of Landon Lewis. You didn't really hear a lot about him, so to speak, but he definitely put some stats up there for us. But Christian has really come into his own and gotten stronger, and he's going to be kind of that guy that we're going to be able to put him. I guess we're a team where we know game planning wise where we need to be the strongest. That's where he's going to go. In the secondary, you got Easton Taylor, Bo Boyd, Chase Bird is a guy I've mentioned. Chase continues to just impress us. Obviously, he came out his senior year, and we've been tickled to death to have him out there. Riley Robinson has looked really good. I could just name one name that I'm not going to mention, well, that I could mention, but it doesn't really have to be in the whole conversation piece defensively just because we want to make sure we be smart with him, is Coleman Davis.
Sure.
Coleman would be like and it's driving him crazy. But we got to be smart, because he's our
big
quarterback.
Piece on both sides, yeah.
Oh my
right.
goodness, and when we're working stuff defensively in practice, he's right there, answering all the questions, like Coleman. One of the things is okay, so and so, don't answer this because I'm gonna ask it to everybody else because he knows the answer.
Right.
What do we do with no motion from 2x2 to trips? He wants to answer so bad, but we want other guys to know it. But yeah, Coleman's obviously going to be in the mix there, but we got to be smart with it. But there's a ton of guys. Everett Fitzsimmons is another one that he moved to us last year as a sophomore, got a lot of reps. As a junior now, we're looking to him to step up. Carter Abelos just moved to us from Swansboro. He transferred over. They moved in the area. So big piece. He's going to be Mike linebacker for us. Super smart kid. This is about, I think, week 2. He came to us right before the official practice started, so week 2 or 3. But that helped with the linebacker depth. And he reminds me a lot of Coleman as far as the mental part. So Yeah, he's a big piece.
And you said Cutter Bryant might have been your offseason MVP.
Absolutely. Cutter's that's the thing I don't like about naming names is because you're going to forget somebody.
Sure.
Cutter's another one. Michael Freeman. I mean, I can just keep naming names, but yeah, Cutter just continues to impress us. He's been really good for us.
And a big part of this too is you brought in a new defensive coordinator last year, and Bobby Cieslak took some time to learn this new system. These guys coming back this year have had a year of it. Yeah. So hopefully that familiarity plays a big part.
Well, they know the scheme part of it. They know Coach Cieslak's mannerisms and kind of how to take him because he's an intense guy. He is intense. He is full go. It's like made me calm down a little bit, which has been good. I mean, we needed that, I guess. But no, I mean, I feel like with this second year into it, you're going to start to be able to have some like automatic checks. Whereas first year, it's like, hey, what we call, you got to live in it. You know, we call something based on down and distance and what we think they're going to be in. Hey, is this a passive situation, a run situation? And last year, maybe they surprised. Like I think of East Carteret, like they're so good at kind of disguising things and mixing things up to where, hey, it's 2nd and 4. You think they're going to do this, and all of a sudden they're going empty. And it's like, man. And so last year we kind of had to live in the call, where this year we're starting to be a little bit more flexible and able to, make more checks. And defensively, now everybody's no huddle. Offensively, some teams are huddle, some teams are still no huddle. Now, used to, back in the day, defensively, everybody huddled because you had the time to do it. Now everybody's no huddle. So that can be a good thing and a bad thing, but I feel like this year we're going to be able to make changes pre-snap that we couldn't make last year because we were still learning it.
Hi, my name is BJ Frazier, head football coach at East Carteret High School, and you are listening to the Paper Boys podcast.
Now we're joined by Daniel Barrow of the West Carteret Patriots.
What's up, guys?
How we doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Tell us about the 2024 West Carteret Fighting Patriots.
We've been working hard. They've been going at it since May, and they they're experienced in some positions, and some others were pretty inexperienced. So trying to get those inexperienced guys caught up and up to speed, and I think if we can, I think that we should gel pretty quickly and, maybe be able to put together a pretty good season.
When I did the story on y'all for the first day of practice, it was a weird deal where you had the lowest numbers maybe you've ever had, but some of the best depth you've ever had.
So that's kind of a weird, that's different. That's I'm sure people read that and be like, God, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't work.
Like, I don't know how that's possible. Yeah, math doesn't quite work there. But it's one of those things where if you look at the number of guys that we have on the team, and it's not as much as we typically do. But when you look at the guys that we have and their ability levels, man, I mean, it's pretty high. So I think the quality of the depth of the team is as good as it's ever been, and even though there's not as many guys on the team, so. I think that's going to help us out a ton, especially early in the season when it's still hot and humid and guys are having a hard time getting through that fourth quarter. When there's other guys on the team that can kind of share a little bit of that burden, carry a little bit of that load, I think it just makes things easier for everybody. So I'm hoping that, especially in these early games, that can help us out a ton.
We're talking about depth. Wide receiver.
Yes.
Got a lot of those.
We got some of those guys. Yeah, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. So crazy wide receiver depth. Going back to the whole depth thing, because, those guys are also DBs, and being able to have some guys that can play wide out and then also have guys that can run out there and play defensive back and maybe not necessarily have a ton of crossover. I think it's going to be huge. So right now, you just look at the returners from last year. Okay, so you got Josiah and you got Carteret and Landon and Jay Murray. you look at all that, and that's a lot of receiving yards right there. Talking about math ain't math. I mean, I can't even count that high. It's a it's a ton of production coming back, and then throw Nehemiah Hester in there. So all those guys are super talented. It's as good of a group as far as depth goes as that we've had. And
if you needed him, Willis Langley, right?
Well, so I didn't even So then think about this, Willis, who's a menace on defense, incredible free safety, right? So he's over here just ball hawking on defense, and if need be called upon, he steps in at wide receiver, don't miss a beat. You know what I mean? And the same could be said for a lot of those guys, like Dallas and Jack Bell and Juwan. It's just
about 10 deep at receiver.
Man,
TV, right?
Yeah, it's wow. It's and
can any of y'all guys play any other position?
right. I mean, it's so crazy too, because it ebbs and flows, and in high school, a particular coach might have a system that they go out and they recruit a certain type of guy, right? So if I'm like a triple option, if I'm the coach at Navy, I'm not going out and searching for all those wide receivers, right? I want running backs, fullbacks, quarterbacks that can run, stuff like that. Well, in high school we get what we get, right? And it just so happens that right now we're in a very good cycle where it just that's what we got, and I feel like we're kind of utilizing those guys to fit what we do and what they can do the best. I think that's where in high school you gotta be flexible, and you got to be able to kind of mold what you do to who you have.
Well, it's a long season, and things happen, and it's some guys may develop faster than others in real game situations, and luckily you've got options.
That's right, and it's nice to have, because you don't always have that. And unfortunately, you even hate to bring it up, but injuries happen, right? So then you're kind of reeling, and it's always week 4 or 5 or 6, somewhere in there, where you're just you're starting to kind of piecemeal stuff together at times. You got to survive maybe a couple weeks until a guy gets back, and now it's not looking like we're going to have to put a backup tackle in at wide receiver. Sure. If we needed to. We got somebody that can step in and fill the role if we need it.
The headline of the offseason for Carteret County football was West Carteret lost, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, one of the best quarterbacks in the state.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jalen Hewitt.
Yeah, great player. And the thing is, people graduate, and people decide not to play, or in this case transfer. It's for one reason or next, mostly for graduation, obviously, but you're having to replace and rebuild and all that. So it's not really it's necessarily something new or different.
It happens.
When Adam Cummings graduates, we gotta replace him, and
sure.
So it's a constant thing in high school ball, and it just it may have happened a year earlier than what we were expecting, but it's not like it's something that wasn't going to happen eventually, right? So just kind of being able to just move on and get the guys ready that we have, and that's just kind of been our mindset.
Tanner Payne steps into big shoes to fill, but with all this skill position talent, it's an enviable position.
T-Pain, that's right. I wish I was playing quarterback. That's right.
You tell detailing that every day.
Yeah. No. So he's and he's done such a great job doing all the little things that he needs to do to put himself in the position to be successful. Talking about a guy that just puts in a ton of work, and he's committed to do everything he can to be the best player he can be. And I feel like right now, like his development is much farther along than somebody who had never taken a starting varsity snap before. He's played a little bit. He got a little bit of playing time last year as a primary backup. But for a guy that right now has not started, and had a varsity game under his belt, I think that he is as far along as somebody could be. And, it's just a testament to his work ethic and what he's done in the off season and his commitment to be good. It's a good feeling, as a coach, and you see your quarterback, doing those things to try to be the best he can be. I have a lot of faith and trust in him, and the team does too.
Y'all go 6-5 last year, 3-2 in the Coastal. I know that's not numbers you all were hoping for last year.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, there's a couple games here and there that were tight that could have gone either way, and then look at the stats of some other games, and some other games got out of hand, although statistically they were a little bit closer. But there's some things that we could do, I think, and that's been the focus this offseason to kind of help us in those games, especially those close games, and being able to possess the ball longer, and being able to grind out some tough yardage and things like all those little things I think is going to help our team, I think, be successful.
You guys are talking about different, reasons why players leave, graduation, transfer, whatever. While Hewitt's departure may be a headline for me, Keegan Callahan was one of the most impressive players I've ever seen on a field. I just love the way he played, and losing him on defense to graduation,
right.
That's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you replace someone that has led the county in tackles each of the last 3 years?
Yeah, so and playing his position at linebacker, so it's really hard to me, other than quarterback, right? It's the hardest position to play on the football field, physically and mentally. You've got to be big enough and strong enough to be able to take on blocks from linemen coming up, but you got to be fast enough. You may have to cover back out of the backfield, and then you have to be smart enough because there's a lot that's in front of you, right? So if I'm playing linebacker, there's so much in my face right here. I got my D line in front of me, I got the offensive line in front of them, and then I got quarterback and back, and there's so much that's going on, right? It's not just all right, the offensive lineman's blocking the guy in front of them, and then they're just running the ball. I mean, there's all kinds of pulls and inserts of H's or fullbacks or whatever, creating gaps, moving gaps, where he, as a linebacker, being able to know where I fit in a run scheme is so difficult to do, right? And I think the really special linebackers are the guys that can get to where they are, to where the ball's going to go, and meet that running back at the line of scrimmage. And he was probably one of the best guys that I've had that are able to do that. So you take his physical skills that he had, which were plentiful, right? But then you couple it with his ability to process. And that's what made him so special on defense. That's where he was always where he needed to be. And it's very impressive whenever you can see it from the end zone shot, because we have two different. When you're looking at his perspective, right? So you got it from the end zone, and you're seeing kind of what Keegan sees, and especially some of these run heavy teams, I specifically think like when we played Croatan last year, or we played Dixon. I mean, and it's complicated. When you're looking at it and knowing where I need to fit, it's so complicated, not only knowing where to go, but then going through all this trash. Yet he was able to do it time and time again. That's what made him so special. So to go back to your question, how do you replace that? I mean, very rarely is a guy going to be able to possess his ability level. But I'm telling you, a guy who's been a part of our varsity team in some capacity, ever since he was a freshman, 8 quartering or whatever. But then, sophomore kind of the same deal. And then last year got a lot of playing time. But the guy that I'm really impressed with right now that's starting to be able to show that's Jeremiah Dixon. He kind of steps into that role Keegan had on defense last year. And I'm watching him and saw him in a scrimmage, and he's doing those things. He's able to see, process, diagnose, and fit at the speed that Keegan was last year. So that's as a coach and seeing him being able to do that, it's a big sigh of relief.
Sure.
Because I'm telling you, it's very difficult. It's so hard to play that inside linebacker role and play it well.
BJ Frazier, East Carteret, how we doing?
Doing pretty good.
Tell us about the Mariners in 2024. How they looking?
Mariners are looking very well. A lot of progression from last year that I feel. Numbers are up. We lost a couple, which happens with every team around this time of the year, but we're sustaining a good, solid group of kids, varsity and JV. We're sitting at about 25, 26 on the JVs and about the same on the varsity. And actually, we just got 3 guys to come out today, all East Carteret High School athletes, obviously. Former athletes or rising ninth graders coming out, basketball player that's coming out. And I think when we start school, we'll still see some numbers increase. I'm actually looking forward to this season. It's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging, but that's part of the game. So that's the fun part.
Kind of the headline for East Carteret in this offseason has been the numbers, right? You all are really excited. And it's funny, we all concentrate so much on varsity, but East Carteret, you're always excited about having a JV team.
Yes, we are. The JV team actually had a really good scrimmage against Havelock yesterday. It was 2-4.
1 point for a touchdown, right?
1 point for a touchdown.
Sure.
They scored, Havelock scored 4 times, and we were scored twice.
So back and forth, huh?
So, yeah, it was a very physical game. And that's one thing we wanted to see in our program a lot more, is just an increase in physicality. And those guys, that freshman class, they came in with a chip on their shoulder, and they were thumping. That's what we call it, thumping. They were thumping. They were making plays. They got a smart quarterback down there in Chase Robertson. Got a good little shifty running back in Cash Tate, who's got him from basketball. He's, full-blooded basketball player.
Yeah.
And got him to come out, and he broke a long run, about 40 yards last night against Havelock, and it is very hard to break against Havelock.
Yeah.
Because those kids are fast.
Yeah.
I think defensively our guys were flying around, but we're still developing those young kids in the weight room, speed, and all that good stuff. So when it's time to be an athlete, when the play breaks down, they had that small edge on us. So when it came to just running a legit scheme and running straight at us and stuff like that, our guys did a fairly good job. But when they started reversing field, you got to see another level of athleticism that obviously Havelock keeps over there. So JVs did a great job. Numbers are up. Every kid got to play.
Nice. And
that's a goal that we put on our program. We say we want the best 11 on the field, but we tell every kid we got to find somewhere to put you on the field.
And this is your 8th year. Will this be the first time you'll have a JV team if it goes from beginning to end?
If it goes from beginning to end, this will be the first time.
Right.
We've started about 4 seasons with a JV team, and it ended up numbers had to be cut because the varsity got low, or either JV numbers got low.
Right.
So this year, I think this year we can just carry it on. They got 6 games scheduled, so we're looking to fill those other spots. In our conference, we only got 2 teams that have a JV team.
Okay.
So we're trying our best to try to fill those spots up, even though it's hard on that back end, just because everybody else has.
And the reason you're so excited about that is that helps for the sustainability of your program year after year, to be able to feed your varsity from the JV.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we got instead of fielding a team each year, we want to make sure we got a program established. And one thing that one of my mentors told me is that it's going to take some time to build a program. And right now we're still trying to work on the lower levels in middle school and then and Little League. We got a flag football league over there now, so hopefully we can get into pads in a couple.
It's been a while since Beaufort's had Pop Warner, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. A lot of kids go to Newport or Havelock for Pop Warner or YFL, however you call it, whichever league it is.
American Football League or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And right now I think that building the program and sustaining it is what we're looking for as a staff.
Coming off a 2-8 year, disappointing year for y'all. Numbers were one of the reasons, right? It was just hard to the depth and.
Yeah, absolutely. The depth and youth, lack of experience. I think we had maybe 4 players from last year's team that had more than 4 years of experience playing football. Our quarterback was a sophomore. Receivers, all 4 receivers were legit second-year players.
Wow.
Whether it was they were a sophomore in school or it's their second year ever playing football. So it's difficult playing like being successful when you don't have the experience, because you're still teaching the game. X's and O's are hard enough as it is, but teaching the concepts of resiliency and emotional regulations in the game and all that good stuff, It's something that in a year's time or from a June and July time, it's hard to get them understanding all of that. So this year we got a good head start, got good numbers, and the opportunity to pull a kid off the field and put somebody else out there, whereas we really haven't had that.
Talk about some of the talent you got coming back. You all are doing pretty well in the skill positions.
Yes, we're returning every skill position back. I mean, we lost Brady Jones at the tight end position, but we have every position coming back. Every receiver from last year, and Daniel Rice, Brock Furr. We regained Miles Shelton. Still have Jaden Watson, DJ Murray. We have a good, solid group of skill guys, and then add in Jackson Green, who we just got. We got this summer. He transferred over. And let's see, Ian Harwstruck and Asher Tillman. Both of those guys are 2-year players in high school, and those we got a little bit of depth there.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit easier. Pull a guy off, coach him up, put him back out, and then as well as offensive line, we probably might have the ability to 2 platoon this year, and that's never been done.
Yeah. That's not a thing in East Carteret, right?
Yeah, not a thing in East Carteret. To go 11 on 11 in practice without bringing the JVs over is awesome.
Wow.
Is awesome.
How about the guy who was the guy, capital THE, capital GUI, DJ Murray for y'all last year, and what you're expecting out of him this year?
I'm expecting big things out of DJ this year. His level of leadership has increased. That kid's a special kid. It's the dynamics of his life and things he's been through and things he's lived through is amazing to see the success that he has. We actually asked him to get in front of the team and tell us his why. Why do you play this game? Why do you like this game? What is it about this game that wants you to be successful? And he want to use this game to pave a way for his life, whether it's going to a junior college, whether it's going to play football at a D3, D2, whatever it may be. He just wants to go play football because, this is an avenue for him to get into a job or anything or get to college, and that's what he wants to do. That's his goal, and he's been awesome, a great leader, holding kids accountable, correcting kids, and it's at this age level it is if you do something wrong, I'm gonna chew you out. But for him, he just tell them, and the kids respond because when you talk to DJ, he's a very mellow kid, doesn't say much, but when he say it, he mean it, and when he mean it, he's gonna do it, and he's gonna make sure you do it, and I think that's the one quality about DJ that we love about DJ.
Yeah, I remember when I did the story for y'all for the first day of practice, and you said that the DJ Murray who's playing for you now and the DJ Murray who was playing for you last year is 2 different people.
2 different people, completely different. He's last year I would say he's a little bit more, like I said, laid back, just playing the game, and this year is playing the game with the team, whereas it's not. Sometimes when you're playing, and obviously when you're on a 2-8 team, it's almost like when you run the ball, you're kind of running for your life back there.
Sure.
And this year he's all in with the offensive line, making sure they know what they're doing so that everybody in the group can be successful. Yeah. Because one concept that I preach to my kids is that, and the reason why I got him to speak in front of the team about his why is that I think if they know his why, then they'll work for him to get there, to achieve that goal, because he can't do it by himself.
Nice.
So if everybody's in alignment and on one accord, then obviously they're helping you get to where you need to be. And then in turn, who knows, 10 years down the line, you could help them to get to where they need to be.
You mentioned Luke McIntosh. Man, nice pickup of a transfer last year from Pinecrest. Started for y'all at quarterback as a sophomore and going to have him back. That's a good return.
Yes, Luke is awesome. Luke is a kid that we can tell him to do something one time, and he's able to comprehend it and then put it into play. He did a great job in the scrimmage yesterday, and we don't necessarily run. What I would say, if we call it run it, it's the handoff. Now, a lot of stuff that we do is more so reads, and he is smart enough to figure out who he's reading. Read the guy, deliver the ball, or hand the ball off, whichever one it is, and then to be able to come back to the sideline and tell me what he's seen, what he thought, so that we can correct it. And again, we push with him. Let's be solution-based, solution-oriented. So if there is an issue, let's figure it out. And Luke is that type of kid that is all about figuring it out.
And you mentioned that the first practice of the year story that Brock Furr, he was your off-season MVP.
Yeah, Brock is Brock is an awesome kid. Again, he has a story that I wish he doesn't talk much, but I wish he would tell his story. I wish he would one day he could write a book about it. But
Wow.
He's an awesome kid. It is we pick on him. I actually met with some of his teachers yesterday, and I told him if he starts acting up in class or anything, don't call me, call my wife. And because she doesn't play, and Brock responds to my wife quickly and swiftly. And but Brock is an awesome kid. He does not know anything less than 100 miles an hour.
You said all season he's put pedal to the metal.
Yes, he doesn't slow down. When walk through, we got to look at him and say walk. When we say run routes, he's sharpening up his routes. When we say run the ball, he's running the ball. If we ask him to throw the ball, he'll throw the ball. Brock will do anything and everything because he knows that one, this is a gateway for him, one, to get to college, but also to better his future. And he's just been amazing. But again, he's one of those kids. If you go to interview him, you might not get much out of him.
A man of few words.
Very, very few words.
And you said you got Jaden back, Daniel Rice. Skill position wise, like West and Croatan, y'all are set.
Yeah, we're pretty set. We still got a lot of developing to do.
Okay.
It's still early. We got a lot of developing to do with those guys. Get some chemistry that we got to work out. I mean, obviously you have sophomores. One thing that we've noticed with our sophomores is that a lot of them hit growth spurts, and a lot of them are faster. Throwing to Jaden is a lot different than throwing to Miles. Miles is a 5'8", 5'8" kid, but
Sure.
he runs a 10'8".
Right.
And then
100.
So then you have Jaden Watson on the other side. He's a 6'2", 6'3" kid.
Right.
And he doesn't run a 10'8".
Sure.
So
yeah.
So the chemistry portion of it, we're trying to get.
Yeah.
Because we got different skill receivers and
Sure.
different heights, different speeds, and so we're trying to make it work as much as possible. I think they did a great job yesterday in our scrimmage against South Lenore, and I think we just got to build off of what we did yesterday and what we've been able to do throughout the summer.
All right, now's the segment everybody just waits 12 months a year for.
To see what the boneheads think.
All right, so here's our predictions for the upcoming high school football
And
season.
let me go ahead and say, JJ and I have not spoken to each other about these predictions. This year we're trying to do something different where we do it on our own, and we'll see which one sounds dumber.
No collaboration?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go in the order of the coaches we interviewed. We'll start with Croatan. Washington.
I've got Washington as a W. They went 3-7 last year. They lost a few pieces. I think that's a great way to start for Croatan.
I got that a W. Pamlico.
A small school. They don't, they're a lot about athleticism, I think, usually, and I don't think they're going to match up well. It's a W for Croatan.
I got that as a W. East Carteret.
Same thing there. It's a small. They got great numbers, but in terms of guys with experience, they're still small. I'm a W for Croatan. Matching last year's 3-0 start for the Cougars.
And last year's 3-0 start was the first 3-0 start in 18 years.
Well, I think we're going to go back-to-back here.
Back-to-back after not doing it for almost 20 years.
That's right.
East Duplin.
Well, there you go. There's your first. There's your first. This one's not really a wonder. They went 10-2 last year. They kept their top running back in Sean Davis. He had 1,100 yards, 18 touchdowns. That's a loss.
Yeah, that game's fun to watch. Just watch him.
Sure.
He's a beast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got that as an L. Bedingfield.
Man, that's tough. That's probably the first toss-up, the only toss-up of the non-conference schedule for them. What are you seeing?
They've played them the last 2 years. They've been semi-competitive. It's not like it's...
It was a 10-point loss last year for Croatan.
And I think the year before was like 14.
But they do bring back just about everybody on
Bedingfield,
offense.
that's a tough area. That's a tough school.
What do you got?
I got an L.
I got an L.
Okay. So that's how it went last year.
Yeah.
They started 3-0. They lost 3 in a row.
There you go.
Then they played... I gave away the next one. White Oaks next.
I was gonna say I have 2-0 to end non-conference, but if you want to skip ahead, White Oak. Based on our conversations with these coaches, that's the favorite for the conference.
Yeah, just going to have impressive lines, physical, strong, big kids that are going Division I.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot around this area, so yeah.
That's an L.
So that's how it went last year. It was 3 W's, 3 L's. But then the next game they also lost, which was Richlands.
Okay.
By 2 points.
Yeah.
So you talk about a toss-up.
That is a toss-up game. I personally, after covering sports for 10 years in this county, have never been impressed by a Richlands team. I am so sorry for those listening.
Wow. We're going to let you cover that game.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll tell you what, better pre-show than anybody in our county for certain. They've got the fog, the colored fog, and the cannons. I love all that.
Nice.
But on the field, I just
never done anything for you.
No.
They've been better the last few years.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're very well coached. Let me go ahead and put that.
And
Coach Bird does a great job.
Well, that's White Oak, Coach Bird.
Oh, I apologize.
Jonathan Bird, which I'm going to mention later on, actually. That's a toss-up. I think you go either way.
I'm going W.
I'll go W.
Okay.
Just to be positive and optimistic.
Swansboro, new coach Rodney Beasley. This is a team that didn't win a game last year.
Struggled.
Really struggled. The year before that had some issues, and I they got some pieces back for sure. They lost one of their defenders to Croatan, actually, Carter Avalos. So I don't know. I think I've got it as a W for Croatan.
That's a W.
Yeah.
Dixon, getting a lot better. That was a very competitive game last year. I covered that. Croatan somehow won, which I still don't understand. I think they had like 10 plays the whole game.
See, I just put Croatan. I put Dixon and Richlands in that same.
You think of how they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, I just can't get out of that mindset. So I got it as a W.
Yeah, they're a lot better, but I'm going to give that a W. And then
the real toss-up,
the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, last game of the season. And this is probably the last time. I mean, this may not be the last time. If these two programs end up in the same conference together,
it's going to be close.
But we're talking Croatan, West Carteret.
Right.
We're talking at West Carteret.
Right.
This could go either way. I'm going to take the out, and I'm going to say home field advantage, and we're going to go Patriots here.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give it to the Cougars.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So in my mind, the season comes down to two games, Richlands and West Carteret.
Sure.
So Croatan, if they sweep those, they're 7-3. If they split them, they're 6-4.
Yeah.
If they lose both, they're 5-5.
Okay.
So to me, they're a 5-5, 6-4, 7-3.
I've got them splitting at 6-4 overall, and 3-2 in the conference.
I think that's their area. 5 to 7 wins.
Making the playoffs, probably on the road.
I mean, 7-3 would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you got to win both those games, and beating West and Richlands, that'll be tough.
Do you think if you beat both those teams and you obviously still finish second to White Oak, you could get a home playoff game?
Yeah, you probably pick up a home playoff game.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right, 7. So I say 7-3. You say 6-4.
That's right.
All right,
moving on.
Let's go with the Patriots. North Brunswick.
The old Pat Riots here. North Brunswick.
Daniel Barrow has made fun of himself the entire last month that I've talked to him about. He should fire the coach because why did he schedule that team for the first game of the year?
It's a really tough one.
Especially when West has a bye the first week.
Sure.
So now you're playing a team that's already played.
Yeah.
They've got that first game, the fumbles, the penalties out of the way.
Probably not going to have a ton of confidence going into week 3 because I've got that as an L.
And you go down to North Brunswick, which is you're not going to have the Bogue Sound breeze down there.
And you're listening to interviews with the coach earlier where he's talking about we're going to be young on the offensive line, but we're going to have guys who are 6'8", 6'6". We don't grow them like that.
Yeah, shout out to our friends at High School OT. They did an interview with a coach, and he said their offensive line might have sophomores across the board, but they might be like a front line of a basketball team.
Yeah. So
I got it as an L2. E.E. Smith.
The team went 3-7 last year. I think it's safe to say it's a W.
That was a W last year for the Patriots.
That's right.
I'll say that's a W again. Jacksonville. Oof.
Look.
That's another one. Coach Barrow should get upset with the coach for scheduling.
Well, and that's a team that we're used to seeing them
Sure.
play, especially old conference. I've got it as a loss.
That's an L. And this is how last year went. East Carteret's next. We already said that's a W. That's how last year went. North Pitt, we both think that's a tough one.
Yeah, this is a team that went 5-6 last year. They do bring back their running back, Jerron Clemens. He had 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yowzer.
They bring back quarterback Famous Wilson. Great name.
Oh,
Jeez.
Wow. Please play college football.
Yeah, Famous Wilson. 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns. Here's the thing, though. Of those 19 touchdowns, 14 of them went to a receiver. I don't have his first name written down. Little Burgess. He graduated. He's gone.
Yeah.
I think that's a really tough loss. I'm going to give West the W
He
here.
was a beast. I'll give them the W, too, but I think that's a close game.
That's sure. It's a great game.
Yeah.
And it's a great home game, too.
Sure. Dixon's next.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're asking me, unless it's a down year for our county teams against programs like Dixon and Richlands, I'm just going to give us the edge there. I got a W against Dixon.
So that's how it went last year, right?
That's right.
So far we're chalked for last year. Then White Oak.
Yeah, we've talked to these guys. They say White Oak is the top team. Loss.
I got that as a loss. And then this is where it could be different. Last year they played Richlands and lost by 2. Croatan played Richlands last year. West Carteret played Richlands, of course.
Both teams losing by 2.
They're in the conference. They both lost by 2. So when we say that's a toss-up game, That's
well,
a toss-up
I
game.
think too when you have lost by 2 and you're a team like Croatan, especially when you're bringing back a lot of older kids, maybe they're hungry
got
to
that
fix
on the
that.
got that on the calendar.
West Carter's got a different group than last year. What do you have?
I'm gonna give the county W's versus Richlands in both games.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be the difference in last year.
Sure.
That's where it breaks. Swansboro.
Yeah, I think
Already
they're
mentioned.
just still in a rebuilding situation. New coach, personnel kind of got some question marks, so I'm going to give it to West here.
I'm gonna give that a W too. And then Croatan and you.
We've already talked
You're
about
going
it.
Patriots.
I'm going
Cougars.
Patriots.
So I've got Patriots at 6-4.
I've got them at 7-3. So just a reversal of
Oh,
Croatan
okay.
here. And 4-1 in the conference versus 3-2.
And to me, it's the same thing. It's Richlands and Croatan.
Yeah.
You're either five. You split. You sweep. You're 7-3. You split. You're 6-4.
I feel like I'm having
you get
some
swept. You're 5-5.
deja vu here because I think we had this exact same conversation
Really?
last year.
Those two teams.
Where it was that game kind of determines the final line of the season.
What if you had to pick another game for each team that's a toss up that could make the difference in their?
Well, I
for
think
West, I think it's that North Pitt game.
Yeah, it's North Pitt. I think
Yeah.
for Croatan, it's Beddingfield.
Okay,
This
yeah,
is a,
there you
this
go.
is either one of those non-conference games that could kind of sort of make you feel different as you go into
Sure.
conference.
All right, we'll go to the Mariners. Tough season for the Mariners last year. Well, what was East? West was 6-5 last year, but that was the loss in the playoff game, so they were 6-4, and then Croatan was 5-5 last year.
Okay,
So we're saying a little bit bump up for both of them.
that's right.
Tough year for the Mariners last year. They go 2-8. They start, and again, everybody has the same schedules. Again, they start off with White Oak. We've already mentioned how tough White Oak's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be.
not going to be a win there. It's
Yeah.
a loss.
Ashley, which is a 4A Wilmington school.
And not just that, they went 7-5 last year. They bring back their top rusher, a guy named Jalen Brewington. He ran for 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then they have another running back who only has like 300 or 400 yards. He ran for 14 touchdowns.
Wow.
So both those guys are back. I think
Okay.
that's a tough loss.
Yeah. Croatan.
Yeah, we've already said it on the Croatan side. That's a loss.
It's been a while since the East has beat Croatan. North Lenore.
Oh man, this is the first toss-up game. I think the
Okay.
first 3 games are 0-3. This is a North Lenore team that went 2-8 last year, but beat East 58-13, and they bring back Malik Fuller, who ran for 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. I'm so sorry, East fans. I think that's a loss.
This is chalk for last year. How last year went. West Carteret's next.
Yeah, well, the bucket is going to East Carteret, but I think it's coming back to Morehead City.
The bucket's at the game's at East Carteret.
That's right, that's
You
right.
think they'll take it back across
I
the
think
bridges?
they're bringing it right across back to the bridge. Yeah.
They'll take it over and then they'll bring it back.
Yeah, this is a short trip.
And again, that's chalk for last year. East was 0-5 last year. Conference start. The last
Oh
non-conference.
no, we got
game,
one more non-conference game,
which is
a brand
weird,
new program.
Yeah, West Wake Prep Academy, which is not an NCHSA team,
No, and it's a
Yeah.
team that only played last year, first year.
and a tough. BJ Frazier was telling us about how trying to find non-conference man. Nobody wants to come to both.
Well, and you got to explain that they lost Jones Senior to 8-man football,
That's
so
right.
now they've only got 4 teams in their conference,
That's
which
right.
is so everyone else is, and even West and Croatan are working with a 5-team conference, which is also pretty small.
also
So
tough.
East is now they're going to be 2 weeks down the road from playing when everybody else has started conference. So.
Yeah, BJ Frazier said he called this coach, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to come to Beaufort.
Well, based on what you've seen on the stats from last year's Wake Prep, what do you got?
I'm going to give a W to the
I'm going to give a
Mariners.
W to the Mariners as
Okay.
well here.
And last year that was, like
that's-
you said, they had Jones. So
That's right. So this is
That's
a
right.
1-4
Right.
non-conference start for the Mariners.
Lejeune last year was, man, I wish that game had been at home last year because that was a doozy. East Carteret won 67-44.
It was a really good game.
Oh, my
Talk
gosh.
about the personnel for Lejeune, though.
They got Connor Shea, who just like set NCHSA records
What
last
grade
year.
was he in last year?
A junior, I want to say.
Okay.
They got a wide receiver, Finnerty. Shea was a junior, and Finnerty was a junior. Andrew Finnerty, he had almost 1,000 yards receiving. Shea threw for 3,000 on the nose and 39 touchdowns, also 24 interceptions.
Sure.
When you're going to be, they threw it 424 times.
Yeah,
so
you're going to make some mistakes.
yeah. So
I think you and I are going to split on these next
Oh,
two
okay.
games.
you got an L
I've
for
got
the
an
Mariners.
L to the
Okay.
old Devil Pups
Yeah.
here. And I think that I'm assuming you have a win.
I do have a win.
I think that loss, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah.
East figures some things out, moves some pieces around, comes back angry, and I think that maybe they've got a shot against the Northside Pinetown
Okay.
team that went 8-3 last year,
Yeah.
but lost a lot of talent.
Lost a ton, but they usually win in it's not
That's-
Pine. Actually, it's not Pinetown. Brian North will tell you it's Yeatsville.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the name of the school.
Sure.
They lost their running back, Jamie Corprew, who ran for 1,400 yards.
He was really
23
good.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
Lost their QB.
Yeah.
And this is a team that, there's some two-way talent in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip on you, and I'm gonna say a loss to Lejeune and a win over Northside Pinetown.
I also give the Mariners a W versus the Panthers.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a call from both of us.
Yeah. Then Pamlico.
Okay. Yeah, and this is one that, a team that barely got by East last year.
Right.
And lost their quarterback and their running back. I'm gonna say win for the old Mariners, the old Boatmen.
What was last year? 13-7.
Yeah, and there's to get that close and to also lose a lot of pieces.
I also have a W. I have Mariners winning 4 in a row.
Dude, you have them winning 4 in a row or starting the conference
After they went 2-8 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Southside. Most people you talk to that knows the Coastal Plains Conference says that's the preseason favorite.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. So you have that as a loss?
I have it as a loss.
I have it as a loss
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
So I have the Mariners at 4-6, which would be a 2-game improvement over last year.
Yeah, I've got them at 3-7, which is
Okay.
not a huge improvement,
Right.
but it's still.
We were talking to BJ Frazier, and we were like, it might be a deal where you're a much better team than last year, but the record won't necessarily show it.
Yeah, maybe not ready for that leap necessarily.
Right. To me, the season comes down to Lejeune and North. Well, actually, man, every game in conference is, other than Southside, which I think will probably win pretty handily.
Yeah, the first three, Lejeune, Northside,
Yeah.
and Pamlico are all going to be.
I think those are 50-50s.
Yeah, which, I mean, if you're playing football in high school, you kind of want that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go in there not necessarily feeling like, it's a gimme or a total loss.
Right. So to me, the variation for East could be between 4-6 and,
Well, 2-8.
well, I mean, you could lose Lejeune, Northside, and Pamlico.
And go 1-9.
Yeah.
Sure. It's possible.
Because those are, like I said, those are toss-up games. Injuries happen.
That said, when you're the only 2A team in a 1A, 2A conference, you might still get into the playoffs.
You might still get in the playoffs.
Which is no small feat.
Yeah. So 4-6, you say 3-7.
Yeah, I think so.
We're a game apart in every one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about player of the year in the county.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you've got teams that are finishing close to each other, when you've got some challenges on the schedule, who's going to stick out? Off the top of your head right now, go.
I mean, boom. My first reaction is Josiah Jones at West Carteret High School.
That's the receiver DB
Yeah.
at West, okay.
My only hedge against that is West is about 7 deep, and that's really not even an exaggeration.
Yeah, and we've seen this before, like if there's a bunch of good shooters in basketball, how do you choose one for player of the year?
Right. Well, we always struggle with Shamel Baker and Charles Mbeka.
That's right.
Because they're very similar numbers.
That's right.
How do you pick one over the other?
And we know right now, after talking to Barrow, that West Carteret's got a slew of receivers.
And Sean Cartwright last year and Josiah both had almost identical numbers.
Wasn't Sean the first 1,000-yard receiver?
Well, they were both very close to becoming the first 1,000.
They just missed
They
it.
both
Okay.
set the school record.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
how do you pick him over Sean
Well, then you
Cartwright?
got to look at, obviously they don't have their typical quarterback behind
They
there,
don't
but
have
there's a new
Jalen
guy.
Hewitt, right.
And I don't want to put any pressure on the kid, but when you've got a bunch of targets,
Right.
and you're going to be given, there's not a stud runner at West
Right.
this year, so you're going to be given opportunities to throw the ball.
Sure.
Maybe a guy like Tanner Payne ends up impressing.
Maybe.
If they finish 7-3, and he has 1,800.
2,000 yards.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's something we're
Yeah.
going to have to look at
Sure.
very seriously.
Candidates for Croatan, probably Coleman Davis.
Yeah, that's the guy that's been.
Quarterbacks get all the love.
They do well, and we, I think one of the weird things about Croatan this year is there's not a singular runner back there,
1,200 yarder, 900 yarder,
or even 2,000 yarders,
Right. Well,
or
like
two
we said-
1,000 yarders.
Oh, right. Or Croatan, a 2,000 yarder, which they've also had.
They've had that as well. Well, Sam Day got pretty close to 3,000, I think, one time.
Yeah.
But, no, I think without that, Coleman Davis is going to be running the ball in addition to into throwing it.
Right.
And he also
And they're going to throw it a little bit more this year.
supposedly,
apparently. That's the rumor.
We'll see.
We'll see. He's a great safety.
Yeah.
They've talked about playing him some at defense. They don't want to.
Well, they're going to in crunch time.
Sure,
that's
sure.
the fact
Big
of the matter.
games.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not going to throw away.
I mean, if he runs for 700, throws for 300, and has 4 picks, that's a pretty good year.
That's a great year,
Has,
man.
at least, like third in the team in tackles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. East, Luke McIntosh, again, quarterback. They're probably going to throw it around, sling it around a little bit. He'll put up some decent numbers.
And I mean, we saw last year with the game like against Lejeune, or
Right.
they're going to put up numbers.
DJ Murray, who is their best player, but he's running back. Their line is kind of a question mark going in. You know, it's funny talking to all 3 coaches. This year is like the year of the skill position talent in Croatan.
Right. I was just thinking in my
Carteret
head,
County.
there's no real lineman that automatically sticks out to
You've
me.
got Coleman Davis and Easton Taylor, a couple other guys at Croatan. You got Josiah Jones, Sean Cartwright, Jay Murray, Landon Mann, Nehemiah Hester at West. At East, you got Luke McIntosh, DJ Murray, Brock Furr, Daniel Rice. It's all like all skill position talent, all the schools, and barely any mention of
line of
linemen.
scrimmage guys. Yeah.
So we'll see.
That'll be interesting.
Got to have some blocking.
Yeah, and I mean, even like last year with someone like Keaton Callahan, who was he player of the year for no?
Jalen.
Yeah, Jalen. Okay,
Hewitt.
But he was pretty close.
But he was the year before.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody who
Linebacker,
often gets right in the thick of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And I think that's probably what the season boils down to for all three teams.
We've only been doing football player of the year for what, like 4 years?
It's been, what was it, Jalen last year. It was Keegan the year before that. Yeah, it's been, I think all these, once we stopped doing just basketball.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're like 4 or 5 years in now.
So I wonder if this is the first time there's been no clear front runner coming in.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
And I don't think there is.
No, I think it's probably one of the most wide open years we've ever had.
That'll be interesting to see, and a tough choice probably as it comes down to the stretch. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting year in the county.
Yeah, I mean, hey, football's back. That's what matters.
Gotta love it.
We'll be out there
Yeah.
week 1.
Just take a moment now, and I didn't prepare Zach for this, so he's going to have to speak straight from the heart. This is our 50th episode.
Oh, hey, congrats to us.
How about that?
You know, one of the hardest things when you start a podcast is to keep it going.
If you read the internets, it says something like 90% never go over like 10 episodes or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the help
I think apparently a lot don't go after one.
Well,
somebody does one and that's it.
It helps as part of our job. So.
Right, we're not doing it in our basements, right?
No, but no, this has been a great journey. You know, when we started this, we wanted to, there's a lot of local sports knowledge between the two of us, and I feel like we've had a chance to speak to some great guests.
Right.
And hopefully we do 50 more.
Good point. Shout out to all the guests we've had.
I mean, they're taking the time to come down here and talk to us, a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Or on the phone.
Yeah.
And to us, who are not very interesting or certainly good to look at. So.
Well, no, we're not that either. That's why we don't do this on video.
No.
Every person I interview, they're like, is this over Zoom? I'm like, no, nobody wants to see our faces.
Yeah, the cameras may be facing you, but it's not going to be facing us.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. Kudos to Zach. We've talked about doing this forever. And we were always like, what would we call it? What would the format be? When would we do it? What would we talk about? And oh my God, for years. And then last summer, Zach's like, you know what? We're just coming in and doing it. That's it. Pick a name. We're just going to do it.
It was a lot of fun planning and designing and we hope to have some more marketing things to do in the future. Shout out to JJ, who is the one who schedules these guests each week. And went out and got T-shirts made for this,
Right.
and we've had several people come and purchase them. And a huge shout out to our producer, Ross Caraway. I have to listen to the raw versions of the audio to make some of the videos we make. It is bad in comparison to the finished product.
The magic he is working.
Yeah, it is not a simple thing. And
Yeah.
it takes a group of people to make this happen.
Yeah, he makes us sound just like right now, the way I'm sounding. He makes
Yeah,
that sound
what
better.
you're hearing is not us right now in the studio. That is some magic.
Yeah, we came in last summer. That was like, forget it. We're just doing it. And the joke was that we were going to do it in the summer when nobody would be paying attention anyway.
Sure.
Nobody's in.
Super smart.
Yeah, because it's summer and everybody in Carteret
And
County
I mean,
is.
Big Rock was simple. It wasn't like anything
Yeah,
controversial
it's not
was
like
going to happen.
not like a bite out of a fish and national media was paying attention. So yeah, like, nobody will pay attention. We'll be really bad for the first couple months. That's just bake that in and nobody will care because nobody will be listening.
And you know what? Thank you to the Big Rock folks for. Tommy Bennett came in and
Tommy
spoke
Bennett
to us.
came in.
Top Dog, Captain
Dickerson.
Todd Dickerson came in and over the phone and spoke to us. So
Right.
I will say we were very fortunate to earn the trust of our guests.
Yeah.
Before we had really been established. So.
And then this summer we had Big Rock. We went Big Rock crazy.
Yeah.
Had
Yeah.
all the Big Rock people.
Yeah, we
on.
Marlon Masters, kind of an offshoot of what we're
Yeah.
doing here. Where we got to talk to
That was awesome.
4 different captains: Casey Wagner,
Also a Zach idea.
Thomas Wood, Dale Britt,
People love those.
and Brent Gaskell.
Apparently, we should just stop doing Paper Boys and do Marlin Masters
Well,
year
here's the
round.
thing. I mean, you look at Carteret County and what we're known for,
Right.
and those guys are a big part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been super fun. We're above Dogwood State Bank in Moorhead, and we'll run into Burt Pierce from time to time, father of West Carteret student athlete legends Blair Pierce and Lauren Pierce.
That's
and
right.
He's always telling us about how he loves listening to the podcast, asking who we got coming on next. Michael Turner, athletic director, volleyball coach at West Carteret, will take a photo of his infotainment center in his truck,
Yeah.
where he's listening to us. Corey Noe,
yeah, I was gonna say, there
West
you go.
Carteret girls soccer
Yeah,
coach,
yeah.
assistant girls basketball coach. His wife will send us a photo of him in his beanbag watching his TV with the Paper Boys up there.
We feel very honored for that.
Amy Nelson, who takes photos at West Carteret football, always tell me she's listening. My buddies, Graham Strother and Gerald Salter, shout outs to them, always tell me they're listening. My favorite story of people telling us they like it and listening was last year when I covered West Carteret and White Oak. And we've got, like you mentioned, we've got podcast T-shirts now. come and get them. And I had one made separately, though, early on. And I was interviewing the White Oak football coach, and he goes, "Hey, Paper Boys, I listen to that podcast."
Wow.
And for 2 seconds there, I'd forgot, number one, that I hosted a podcast.
What podcast are you talking about?
Because we were like 2 or 3 months in at that point.
Yeah.
And then number two, had forgotten that I was wearing the T-shirt. And so I looked down, and I was like, oh, my God, he's talking about me. He's talking about us.
Yeah.
And he's an Onslow County guy, Jonathan Bird. I was like, oh, my God, thank you. He was like, yeah, y'all are great. It's like, wow.
Well, and we'd love to, in the future, I think, expand some of our guests to Onslow County, to Craven County. There's a couple football coaches out there, a couple basketball coaches out there. We would love to have you on. Yeah,
I was thinking maybe this year, maybe talk to the week that New Bern and Havelock plays. Maybe we should talk to some Havelock and New Bern football coaches.
I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah. There's an assistant over at Havelock who used to be a county coach, who we've been telling Mr. King, Caleb, to come on. And
we'd love to have him on.
Man, he's a tough get.
Yeah.
Just can't get him in here.
And we've been lucky this year. We've had a couple of Hall of Fame golfer.
Yeah,
that's right.
Who was amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've had NFL guys, Matt Dodge,
LeVar Fisher.
That's right.
Right. Trying to get Lonnie Chisenhall in here. That's going to happen.
We're going to get him in.
That's going to happen.
We're going to get him in.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been a blast.
It's been.
I don't know how many more we'll do. I don't know how much longer it'll last. Maybe another 50. Maybe another 10. We'll see.
Sure.
But it could be awesome. But thank you, everyone that always tells us they enjoyed listening. Thanks for people for buying T-shirts. We thought we'd order 10 or 12, and we only ordered like 75, and we're and they got like 10 or 15 left or something.
Yeah. It's been a real privilege and a pleasure to
blast.
Get a chance to speak to these folks and put these episodes out.